Whatever your expectations are, you should have that discussion with them at the onboarding part of their training. An expectation could be, it's our expectation that you'll arrive to work 10 minutes before your first client, patient, session, whatever it is. Our expectation is that you will reach out. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Female Empowered Podcast with myself. I'm Krista Gurka. I'm so happy to have you back as we kick off, I believe, episode 10. So what we're going to talk about today is hiring. I get a ton of questions about this from business owners, solopreneurs, even business owners that are expanding their services about hiring. And it's an important topic because if you want to grow your business, at some point you should or will be considering bringing on a team member. And I think for a lot of people, this is a spot where they kind of get stuck. They're not sure who they should hire first. They're not really sure how they should go about it. All of the fears that come along with it. What if this person isn't the right fit? What if this person eventually leaves and takes all of my clients? And some of the things I really encourage you to do is you have to think of what you need now, and you cannot control what happens in the future. So I definitely believe in the adage, hire slow and fire fast, as well as I believe in the adage when people say, well, what if I spend all this money on training and then they leave? And, I would put it back in their court, like, what if you don't train them and they stay? So you have to look at it from both sides of the coin, and truly having great staff members, team members will allow you more freedom to do what you want in your business. So one of the things we're going to talk about first is trying to figure out who you should hire first. Now, some people really love the management side, the leadership side, the CEO side of growing a business, while other people do not. What I recommend is to use a sheet. I call it Elevate and Delegate. So what I do is I put together, there's lots of different iterations of this out there. So you can have I do it in a quadrant. So you have basically 4 quadrants. So basically all you would have to do, I know this is a podcast, so most of you can't see what I'm doing, but if you just make a big X or do a square and draw a big cross in the middle, you have 4 quadrants. All right. So in the top quadrant, the top left quadrant, let's say, you have what you love and are great at. Okay. So the things you love to do and the things that you are really, really good at. So for example, if you are a physical therapist, then hopefully one of the things you are really great at is treating patients. You may or may not love to do that anymore, but if you do, that would go in that top left quadrant. Then next to that, in the quadrant next to it, the top right quadrant, you would place the things that you like and you're good at. Okay, so maybe you enjoy doing it, you're relatively good at it, and so you would put those things in that quadrant. Then we move on to the bottom quadrant. So the bottom left quadrant are things that you don't like to do, but you're good at. So in the example I used before, if you really are not lit up by treating patients anymore, or by teaching Pilates or yoga classes, or by delivering the product, then maybe that's something you're actually really good at, but you don't like to do it anymore. That would go in the bottom left quadrant. And then the bottom right quadrant is the things that you don't like and that you're really not good at. So in this example for myself, I am not good at website design, nor do I like to do it. So that would go in the bottom right quadrant. What I recommend to people is to maybe take the sheet around with you, whether you have it on an iPad or you would basically have a notebook, or you might even have in your notes section on your phone things I like and I'm good at, things I like and I'm great at, things that I don't like but I'm good at, and things that I don't like and I'm not good at. And all the different tasks that you do throughout the day that relate to your business, start to jot them down. Take about a week, because maybe you don't do something on Monday, but then you find yourself doing it on Thursday, and you want to have all of these things down. Anything from returning emails, charging clients, creating schedules, time off requests, cleaning, creating graphics, posting to social media, networking, reaching out to physicians, providing the service, whether that be teaching classes, doing private sessions, handling client or customer complaints, answering the phones, billing, et cetera, et cetera. Anything that you do throughout your day that relates to your business should find itself in one of those quadrants. When you feel like you've pretty much gotten everything on that sheet that you do throughout your day in your business, then the first thing that should get off your plate are the things that you don't like and you're not good at. So that bottom right quadrant is the very first person role, I would say. So we hire for the role, okay, not the person. We hire for the role, should be who you hire for. So if in that quadrant you have things like website design, graphic creation, posting to social media, returning customer emails, all of those things can be done by somebody else. They can be done quite efficiently and effectively by a virtual assistant, a VA. I will tell you that my VA, Sarah, was probably one of the best hires I ever made, that really allowed me to step out of the role of business owner and into the role of CEO. Because she took a lot of those $5, $10 an hour tasks that I was doing, that I had no business doing, off of my plate. She was able to do them better and quicker, and freed me up to be able to do the things that I was really good at and I enjoy doing, which is the top left quadrant. Okay, so if you look about it, if you think about it in terms of this, so the pushback I get from people, or the objection I get from people is, well, I really don't have the money to hire anybody right now to do it, so I need to do it myself. And in business, when we start out, the truth is you will pay with time or money, for sure. However, if you are spending time doing your own website, for example, but you could be teaching a Pilates class that could generate you $100 or $150 in revenue. Basically, you're paying yourself $150 an hour to do your website. If you were paying a contractor $150 an hour to do a website that was not trained in website design and was doing a really poor job, don't you think that you would eventually fire them? So if you paid someone $15, $20, $25 an hour to do your website, and you could get that hour back to teach a Pilates class, that is much more efficient use of your time. So instead of saying, I don't have the money to hire somebody, I would like to throw it back to you and think of it in terms of, I can't afford not to hire somebody. It's keeping me stuck by not relinquishing control of some of these tasks. So if you can hire a VA, it doesn't have to be full-time. That's the other thing. A lot of people think, well, I don't have full-time need for somebody. Well, that's okay. You can start by hiring them for 5 hours a week on a project basis. Okay, so you can start with 5 hours a week. You can offer to pay them, $25, $30, $50 a week on a project basis. Give them very specific tasks and start there. So if you hire someone 5 hours a week and you charge, let's just say $100 an hour, and you can get those hours back to do work in the business, then you're going to earn $500. You're going to pay $50 to earn $500. And those are pretty good odds anywhere you go. So that's the idea. So you want to start, when you do this worksheet, the first thing you want to get off your plate are the lower quadrants. So definitely the thing in the lower right quadrant, and then eventually carry over into the lower left quadrant. Get those things off your plate first with a VA. So in our inner circle, which is the Beyond the Movement inner circle that we have, everyone in that group actually has access to my VA, which allows them to not spend countless hours on creating graphics or figuring out how to change something on their website or understanding HTML. And so they get those hours back by being part of our inner circle. And they really, really realize that what a great opportunity this is to free up 5, 6, 7 hours of their week. Okay, in my case, I now have Sarah works 40 hours a week for me, and she does a tremendous amount of work for us, and we love having her as part of the team. So that's where I would start. When you're looking to hire, do that first, do your due diligence, and because we want to create the role and then hire the person. I see a lot of mistakes where people hire the person and put them in a role that they're not right for. So you first create the role, and then you hire the person. Now, the next thing I recommend is what's really, really important, and this is where I think a lot of people fall short too, as did I when I first started hiring, is you want to have, step number one is to have a very clear vision of your company. What is it that you do, and why do you do it? Having a very clear vision is integral in making sure that these people understand what their roles are. Now, what do I mean by that? So the vision at Pilates in the Grove is that we empower our customers to live a pain-free life that they desire and deserve. That's our vision. How do we do that? Is we teach mindful movement, and the methodology is, the modality that we use is simply Pilates. Okay, so everything that we do in the company circles around that vision, and we have all of our core values. Okay, our core values at Pilates in the Grove are customer commitment. We are committed to making the lives of our customers easier. Ride or die, which means we grow and fail as a team, as a unit, and we are there and compassionate with our team members and our clients. We over me is we have a team approach at our facility. Everything we do revolves around team structure. Passion, we're passionate about what we do, and we're dedicated to growth. So we hire, fire, reward, discipline. Everything is based around our core values. So when you have a clear vision, clear values, you can relay those to the person that you're trying to hire and say, this is what we do at this company. If you are inherently opposed to any of this, then the working relationship will not work. For example, if someone did not have a team approach, so we over me is one of our core values. So if someone came in and was interviewing with us and said, you know, I really just want to come in, I want to teach 3 classes a week, and I don't really want to be involved otherwise with a company. Now, they may be a phenomenal instructor, phenomenal practitioner, but if they don't want to be part of our team, then it's just not going to work in our business model. That doesn't, not right, wrong, and different. It just means it's not going to work. And when you sometimes have those people that seem great, but are just for some reason, it's just not clicking, it's usually that they're somehow opposed to one of your values. So it's really important to have a clear vision, a clear mission, so that you can explain this to people in the interview process and make sure that they can get on board with what it is that you do and why you do what you do. So number one is have a very clear vision. It helps people become engaged, and it also creates an accountability culture in your workplace. Even if you're hiring a VA, that may not have any contact with your customers, I still think it's really important that you talk about your values, right? So along with values comes setting expectations. Setting expectations is really critical when you are looking to bring someone on your team. You can set expectations like, it is important to me that you are resourceful, that you are going to try to find the answer before you come to me with a question. These are examples. This can just be something, maybe it's not something that's important to you. Another example could be, my expectation is that you are going to do what you say you're going to do. For example, if you say that you would like to run a prenatal Pilates program, and you are going to be committed to teaching a 4-week session, that you are committed to teaching the 4-week session, no matter what happens. If you want to take a vacation in the middle, well, you committed to this. So this, I expect you to live in integrity, and you are going to complete your commitment. Maybe one of your expectations is that your staff are critical thinkers. Can they think on their feet? If something happens when you are not there, can they figure out to call the plumber when the toilet's overflowing instead of calling you? Whatever your expectations are, you should have that discussion with them at the onboarding part of their training. An expectation could be, it's our expectation that you'll arrive to work 10 minutes before your first client, patient, session, whatever it is. Our expectation is that you will reach out and follow up with each client every 2 weeks. Whatever those expectations are, it's important that you have that discussion with them. Now, number 3 is role clarity. And what I think normally happens to people, and this happened to me frequently too when I first started out, was people think this is number 1. Give them the job responsibilities, number 1. And I think it's important, obviously, to go over the job responsibilities. However, it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that anyone who's on your team aligns with your vision and mission and understands their expectations, because your expectations is basically how you are going to evaluate them. So it's important that they understand. Role clarity, job responsibilities are just the things that they do throughout the day. So if it's a front desk person, it's that they're going to answer the phone, they're going to return emails, they're going to collect payments, they're going to reschedule clients, move people around, whatever the case may be. If it's a practitioner, it's that they're going to perform physical therapy or teach a Pilates class or facilitate a yoga class, whatever the job, whatever their role is, that these are the things that they are going to do on a daily basis. One of the things too is that I think people focus so much on the role and not about everything else. So it's truly my belief that doing your job, so doing the role, the job responsibilities, is the minimum basic skills. I don't necessarily reward, or I don't necessarily hire on experience or years in business or degrees or things of that nature. What I'm looking for are results. So quite often when we do reviews and evaluate and assessment, or we have performance reviews, we talk about results, not necessarily about the day-to-day tasks. So for example, if your hours are like 8 to 2 and you come in 8 to 2 and you do your job and it's good, to me, that's considered doing your job. If you want to excel, it is expected, and this is what we go over in the expectations, it is expected that you are going to achieve X amount of results. And I think that's where sometimes people get confused. Doing your job is doing your job, and that's great, but that's the minimum expectation. If you want to grow, you should excel. Correct? So as an employee, I want to make myself so valuable that my boss would not be able to see their company function without me. I want to try to make myself as indispensable as possible. Okay. So ideally, we're paying for results. not necessarily for the job responsibilities. Now, they have to obviously be somewhat capable of doing their job. All right. So when we hire, we go through a process where everyone we talk about in a form of GWC. So that means get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it. So when we evaluate someone that we're going to bring on our team, the first thing we say is they have to align with all of our core values. If they're opposed to any of them in any way, then, like I said before, it really doesn't work in our business model. So then we go through this process where we say, does the person get it? Do they understand the role? Do they understand the responsibility? Do they know what the job is? Do they get it? Do they want it? Okay. Sometimes we want to put people in a role, but they don't really want to be in that role. If you're asking an instructor to take over admin work, or you're asking a therapist to take over social media work, that is not in their zone of genius necessarily, maybe. But if they don't want to do it, you're going to get frustrated, they're going to get frustrated, and you're both going to be frustrated. And it really is that they just don't want it. And the third one is, do they have the capacity to do it? That means bandwidth, meaning like, do they have the time to do it? And do they have the knowledge in order to be able to do it? Now, capacity is one of the ones that we will, if it's not perfect, we can work with. So if I can teach them the role, but they get it and they want it, then I feel like they can eventually have the capacity to do it. But for example, if it's a time thing, so say someone can really only teach 3 classes in a row, which is fine, then they can't teach, you can't give them 6 classes in a row. They will not be good at what they do 6 classes in a row. So maybe you have to give them a break, a 30-minute break in the middle. Or maybe you have to decide they're not right for this role. It depends on what your vision, what your expectations are. So setting those up first are really going to help you avoid issues, difficult conversations at the end. Now, when we talk about bringing on another practitioner, so people frequently ask me, when do I know if it's time to bring on another instructor or massage therapist or physical therapist? Generally, I go by my metrics, right? Again, I always go back to understanding numbers. Once we get to be 80% utilized, so once we're 80% full, then I know that it's time to either add a class or maybe bring in another practitioner, because I know already that with the overflow, with the surplus, we can start passing people off. Okay, so generally that's my benchmark. Some other people may have a different benchmark, but I know that once we get to be 80% utilized, we will look to hire somebody, which is why I'm a big proponent of scheduling a month in advance, 2 months in advance, 6 months in advance, especially when you have wellness programs where people have standing appointments, because then you can look ahead into the future and really see and evaluate on objective data, not just subjective feel. Okay, so I hope that was a little more clear as to really starting to decide who you want to hire first. No, well, not who, I apologize. The role you want to hire for, then deciding who. Okay, and take your time deciding who you want to hire. You can put out an ad, give them some little task to perform. I usually have a questionnaire that goes out with the interview. And what I'm looking for, I don't even really care about the answers, to be perfectly honest. What I'm looking for is, did they actually take the time to fill out the questionnaire? Because if they didn't take the time to fill out the questionnaire and at least follow the simple directions on the job posting, then I already know they're not going to be resourceful. They're not going to be critical thinkers. And these are things that are important to me. So they don't usually even pass the first round of even getting an interview. And this is ways that it can help you weed out candidates to make sure that you're getting the best quality person for the job. The other thing that I would like you all to think about, especially if you're business owners, entrepreneurs that are listening to this, which I think a lot of you are, we usually are made from a different mold. That's why we're the boss, why we're the owner, why we're the top of the hill, okay? because we are made from a different mold. We are usually very passion-led, very driven-led. A lot of times we may not be the best communicators because everything is in our head. We know how we want everything done. And sometimes we don't communicate that well to the person that we are training. Oftentimes, when it becomes an issue of they're just not doing their job, what I would like you to think about is, did I do the proper training for them? As the boss, as the business owner, because you can be great at what you do, at running the business, at providing the service. That doesn't mean that anyone trained us to be leaders and managers. That is a whole different skill set. And by the way, the next episode or next week's episode is going to talk all about how transitioning from business owner to CEO and how that is one of the most challenging things for entrepreneurs. So I invite you to really put your onboarding process as your responsibility. It is your responsibility to set your expectations, make sure they are clear, make sure that you deliver the training that you want to your prospective employee, even the VA, right? Because then when you come back and you say, well, I'm just going to do it myself because they're still not doing it right. Well, the onus should be on us as the entrepreneurs, as the business owners, to make sure that our training is correct, sufficient, all-encompassing. So I also recommend making sure you have at least a minimum of once a week meetings for all new staff members. Even if they're short, quick meetings like, hey, what's working, what's not working, how can I help? Then if it ever comes to the point that you need to let someone go, they should already know it's coming because you've been having these conversations with them. You've been giving them feedback, telling them, okay, this is great. Needs a little bit of improvement. How can I help you get to that? You've been giving them benchmarks that they need to meet. You've been giving them trainings, or you've been giving them ideas of how they can improve on that. So if 3 to 4 weeks pass and you eventually have to let them go, it really should be no surprise to them that it's coming. But I hear a lot from business owners, well, it's just easier if I do it myself. If you don't allow the people to fail, if you don't allow them to make mistakes and then correct those mistakes, what you're going to create is a bunch of little task rabbits that are not going to be able to do anything without you. And then the onus is on you that you've created more work for yourself. So you've designed that system, unfortunately, right? Growing a team is one of the hardest, most challenging things as a business owner, but I also think it's imperative if you want to be able to work more on your business than in the business. And I think it can be great. The team that I have at Pilates in the Grove is amazing. And we would never be where we're at right now without them, without their loyalty, without their support. So shout out to all my Pilates in the Grove team members, my administrative side, my marketing team, all those people that I brought on over the last year to help grow Krista Gurka and Pilates in the Grove are amazing. But they all have one thing in common. They all live by integrity. They are all critical thinkers. And they are all resourceful and can figure out how to do things independently, because that's how we are going to succeed. And they're all team players, because those are what the core values of Pilates in the Grove are. So I hope this was valuable to you. If you have any questions, I'd love for you to shoot me a DM over on Instagram at Krista Gurka. I would love for you to follow next week, where we talk about leveling up from business owner to CEO. And by the way, if you are interested at all in the Inner Circle mentorship that we have, there's some really, really great resources in there and perks that you get access to a lot of my team. And it's been wonderful for the people that are in the Inner Circle. So if you do have any interest, you can shoot me an email, Krista@pilatesinthegrove.com. You can also visit our website and check out more information under the Inner Circle. And lastly, it would mean a lot to me if you would do me the kindest favor and leave a review for the show, because it does help other female healthcare, wellness, fitness brands find us, engage with us, and be able to learn how to run profitable businesses. so that we can all have the greater impact that we desire on our communities. So if you would be so kind as to leave a review, that would mean a lot to me. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a great day. Let me know how it goes with your first hire, and I look forward to seeing you next week on the Female Empowered Podcast. Have a great day, everyone. Until next time.